Thank you all for joining us today. We're really excited to be able to bring this topic to you and grateful that we have the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment here with us to help fill in some of the gaps and let us know where FAMLI, the Family and Medical Leave Insurance Program, stands as of today. I'm going to try to multitask and continue to let people in while I'm just giving us a little bit of housekeeping. We ask that everybody, all of our participants, join and stay on mute. That way we can really make sure that everybody can clearly hear the presentation and we don't have interruptions. This webinar is being recorded. It will be posted at the AutoPaychecks blog. That's autopaychecks.com/blog. I'll also send out a recording to all participants, and you can look for that to come this afternoon. We think the presentation will last between 30-35 minutes, so there will be ample time for questions. Please open up your chat function. So if you're in Zoom, if you kind of move your mouse around over the video picture, a little green box comes up at the bottom of your screen in a black panel that says, oh no, it's right next to that green box that says chat. So if you would open that up and submit your questions through chat, we're going to be monitoring those throughout the presentation. Once the presentation has concluded, that's when we will start asking those questions to the panelists. So thank you for participating and joining us today. This is part of the AutoPaychecks series of webinars to bring you current and reliable information, and we're grateful to be able to work with all of our partners and these amazing presenters to bring that content to you. We do have another webinar coming up June 16th, again at 10 a.m., and that will be a presentation by Michael Santo. So if you haven't seen that webinar invite come out, please watch for it. That will be coming up here in a couple of weeks. And with that, I'm going to turn things over to John Hildebrand to present our speakers today.
Well, first of all, thank you for joining us today. I want to kind of give a little bit of a disclaimer on this. I think most of you are aware who are here. This new law in Colorado is still in the refining process. So we're giving you the most up-to-date information we can from the people who are actually working on the development of the program. But understand, just like with the PPP loans and things around COVID, this is going to be a bit of a moving target, but we should be able to give you a good idea of the direction that this is going to take. So let me give a little bit of an introduction to our speakers today. With the passage of Prop 118 in November of 2020, Colorado voters approved the paid family and medical leave insurance, the acronym is FAMLI, which I'm sure that's what we're going to use as we talk about it. Initiative to ensure workers across the state won't have to put off growing their families, stress over unexpected injury or illness, or sacrifice their careers to take care of a family member. Representatives of the state of the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment are here to provide a high-level overview of the program, its implementation timeline, and address what action employers need to take over the next several months before the premium collections begin January 1, 2023. The benefits become accessible after January of 2024. So we'll have premium collection in the next calendar year, but no one can access them until 2024. We're excited to present our speakers today, and I really thank you for your time and being willing to inform our clients and partners. The Division Director, Tracy Marshall, joined the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment last September to stand up the new paid family leave insurance. Tracy has been a registered nurse for over 25 years and holds a bachelor's degree in nursing from the University of Wales. She is a board certified as both a case manager and disability management specialist. Prior to joining the Colorado Department of Labor, Tracy was the Director of Clinical Operations for Guardian Life Insurance's Absence Management Company. Evan Grimes is also with us, and he is the Policy Manager for FAMLI, and has been with the Colorado Department of Labor for over 6 years, holding a variety of policy and labor law roles with the CDLE for labor standards and statistics. So he's been supporting the family division for some time. Evan recently joined the team full-time and will play a critical role in the rulemaking process for CDLE as CDLE deploys to Colorado's first state-run family medical leave program. Evan holds a Juris Doctor from University of Denver's Stern College of Law. So that was a mouthful there. So I just want to say thank you. I'm going to get out of the way here and let our speakers enlighten us. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you so much. We appreciate the warm welcome and the introductions, and we're very honored to be here with you today and to be serving the people of Colorado in these roles that we have right now. So we will go ahead and start jumping into our presentation. So the agenda for today, the overview of what you can expect to hear and see, we'll give you an overview of what CDLE does, and then we'll dive into specifically what the FAMLI division will do, what benefits the program will have for Colorado's employers and how it will be funded. And we're also going to go over how FAMLI interacts with private insurance, FMLA, our timeline for implementation, and what you can do to prepare. And we'll also outline some simple employer scenarios just to try and give you that better picture of what you can expect moving forward. So as you just heard, Colorado voters passed Proposition 118 in November of 2020, and that created a paid family and medical leave insurance program for Colorado workers. This initiative had bipartisan support, and it was actually approved by 57% of voters, making Colorado the 9th state in the country to establish such a program. There are now 11 states total, with Maryland and Delaware recently passing their own paid family initiatives. At the highest level, FAMLI will provide paid leave for Colorado workers who experience specific life circumstances, and we're going to talk more about those in a moment. The program will cover almost all workers in Colorado, including those who are self-employed or independent contractors. They will all have the opportunity to participate in FAMLI. Next slide. Beginning on January 1st of 2024, covered Colorado workers will be able to take up to 12 weeks of paid leave in specific situations. That would include their own serious health condition, the health condition of a family member, caring for a new child, making arrangements ahead of a military deployment, or to deal with the immediate needs or impacts arising from intimate partner violence or sexual assault. As with unemployment insurance, a worker will file a claim for family leave. Those claims will be reviewed prior to approval, and employers will be kept in the loop on every step of that process. Now, we do understand that to some of our employers, this may feel like just one more thing that's going to complicate your business. But FAMLI doesn't just benefit employees. There are very tangible benefits for every Colorado employer, especially as small businesses. First of all, we are committed to reducing the administrative burden as much as possible. And that's why FAMLI premiums will largely work in the same way and on the same schedule as the existing unemployment insurance system. Employers will only need to register and pay into the premium system. When an employee needs to use their family leave, that process will be managed through the state, much like unemployment insurance is today. Secondly, FAMLI is a cost-effective way for small businesses to provide paid family leave, because Colorado businesses with 9 or fewer employees will not have to pay an employer premium. For those businesses, their only cost will be the administrative overhead to deduct and remit their employees' premiums. Businesses with 10 or more employees will split the premium with their employees, with the employer and employee each paying a premium equal to 0.45% of employee wages. Paid family leave is a benefit that workers want. The 2016 Deloitte survey found that 77% of workers said that the availability of paid family leave had some influence on their choice of employer. Colorado's FAMLI program will help small businesses provide benefits that some larger employers already do. This will help make them more competitive with those employers for talent nationwide. There is also a growing body of evidence that access to paid family leave can improve employee morale and productivity. A decade after California introduced paid family leave, 90% of employers surveyed said that paid family leave had either a neutral or a positive impact on employee morale and productivity. Research has also shown that employees with access to paid leave are more likely to return to their jobs and remain in the workforce. This reduces the cost to find and then train replacements. One study conducted by Rutgers Center for Women and Work found that new mothers who take paid leave are 93% more likely to still be in the workforce 12 months after childbirth than those who do not. So FAMLI helps retain talent. Providing paid family leave will help Colorado employers retain their talent, which will reduce costs to train new employees. During eligible family leave, employees will receive up to 90% of their wages, with benefits being capped at $1,100 per week. This is proportional to the average weekly wage for Colorado, and it may increase over time. We have a benefit amount calculator on our website to help families get a rough estimate of the amount of payments they'll receive. Premiums are paid on wages up to the federal Social Security wage cap. Keep in mind that this is not set in stone, and it will change as the Social Security cap changes every year, and that will impact what the capped out rate is. All right, I'm going to hand over to Evan, who's going to highlight some of the other protections that FAMLI can offer for both employers and their employees.
Thanks, Tracy. So first, some of the protections that FAMLI offers for employers. Employers will receive 30 days advance notice before an employee takes family leave if the need for leave is foreseeable. That'll be notice that comes from the employee, and if the need for leave is not foreseeable, the employee is required to provide notice as soon as practicable. The appeals system includes both administrative and judicial review of claims. FAMLI will have mechanisms in place to prevent and penalize fraud and abuse, and the program will have strong oversight, including an annual report to the legislature. And protections for employees include job protections mandated after 180 days worked for the same employer, a clear prohibition against retaliation and interference with someone's family rights, a right to pursue in court civil actions for retaliation and interference, and mandated posted education and posters about the program and its benefits. Now let's get into a bit on how FAMLI will be funded. As Tracy mentioned, employers with 9 or fewer employees will not pay an employer premium and will only have to deduct and remit premiums from their employees on a quarterly basis. An employee's premium will be 0.45% of wages. Employers with 10 or more employees, however, will share in the cost by matching that 0.45% premium. Employers can also choose to cover some or all of their employees' premiums as an added perk. Self-employed individuals may also choose to participate in the program, paying the same 0.45% premium and receiving the same level of benefits. Now, while we believe the state program will be the most cost-effective and efficient way for Colorado employers to offer paid family leave, especially those with 9 or fewer employees, employers will have the option to provide the required paid family leave benefits through an approved private or self-insured plan. Now, again, the initial family premium rate is fixed at 0.9% through 2024, split between the employer and the employee. For 2025 and beyond, the director of the family division sets the premium rate according to formula based on monetary value of the fund each year. Family premiums, however, will never go above 1.2% per the statute. It's been demonstrated in several states that premiums have actually decreased and benefits have been able to increase over time. Now I want to touch briefly on private plans. As of the date of this presentation, we are in the process of drafting rules around private plans with the goal of publishing these rules in the coming weeks. We encourage all employers to provide comment either in writing or via our public comment hearings. Now, in order to qualify for an exemption from paid leave benefits through the family division, employers must offer a plan to all employees that provides all of the same rights, protections, and benefits as Colorado's family paid leave program and imposes no additional burdens or conditions. So, for example, to be approved, a private plan must, among other things, offer at least the same number of weeks of benefits, offer at least the same level of wage replacement for each week of benefits, include no additional requirements or conditions, deduct no more than the same amount from employees' paychecks as the state plan allows, cover all employees through the duration of their employment, and remain compliant with any additional requirements established by the family division. Several insurance companies who already provide private plans in other states have already expressed interest. And again, we anticipate having the rules for private plans adopted within the next few months, which would give employers and insurers time to shop for services before the first premium payment is due at the end of the first fiscal quarter of 2023. Self-insurance will be a longer application process as the division will need to vet the financial standing of the company and will require a surety bond.
Thanks, Evan. So Colorado's family program was designed so that family would run concurrently with federal FMLA. In other words, in most situations, employees who take paid family leave will also be using their unpaid FMLA leave at the same time. CDLE cannot provide guidance regarding FMLA, but we have asked the U.S. Department of Labor for their additional guidance, and we will share that with Colorado businesses as soon as it's available to us. I just wanted to take a moment here to go over the timeline for how family will roll out over the next couple of years. So earlier this year in January, we completed our first round of rulemaking, and that's a process that will continue this spring. In July, you'll be starting to see a multi-year public education campaign to ensure that both employers and workers are ready for family. Later on this year, employers will be able to set up accounts in the family system. And next January, you'll be able to log into those accounts and start remitting premium payments. Premium payments for the first quarter of 2023 will be due on April 1st of next year, and there will be a 30-day grace period. Finally, beginning on January 1st of 2024, covered workers will be able to submit requests for their family leave. Here we have 6 steps to consider when you're preparing your business for Colorado's paid family leave program. First of all, determine how family will apply to your business. You can then estimate your premium liability using the calculator on the family website, or if you have multiple employees, you can use the set formula and rate to create a spreadsheet that would work well for your business's needs. Consider all of your plan options. While the markets for private plans are not yet available, and details on self-insured options with the use of a surety bond paid to the state are still in development, you may want to plan for conversations with your insurance brokers and your financial planners. Talk with your HR partners. Begin to incorporate language into your employee manuals regarding premium deductions this fall, and subsequently adopt clear guidance for your employees around family benefits in the fall of 2023. If you're using a payroll company, or if you process payroll yourself, you will need a plan to have both the family premiums deducted and submitted to CDLE beginning on January 1st of 2023. Ask us questions. That's the whole reason that we're here. We are very, very committed to helping you navigate the new program and to ensuring your success. On this slide, we have provided an outline of the 2022 activities that will help you to prepare to implement FAMLI within your business. We noted that Q2 is a good time to begin sharing information with your employees, which includes payroll deductions that they will begin seeing in January 2023 if you're participating in the state's plan. We will continue our rulemaking process this quarter, including rules around benefits. So please be sure to check out our events calendar at the homepage at famli.colorado.gov to stay up to date on our division's activities. We are working with our vendor partner to build our new premium system, and later in Q3, we will be communicating with employers on how you can register your business with the system. In Q4, we will work with you on setting up payroll deductions, and for those private plan employers, ensuring that your plans are noted in the system. FAMLI benefits will be available to Colorado workers once again, beginning on January 1st of 2024. Now I'd like to walk you through some examples. Let's say that Mateo here works for a company with 8 total employees. Each biweekly pay period, he earns wages totaling $1,200. Beginning on January 1st of 2023, Mateo's employer will deduct 0.45% of his wages from his paycheck for the FAMLI premiums. That would amount to $5.40. Because Mateo's employer has 9 or fewer employees, his employer is not required to pay an employer premium, though it may choose to pay some or all of Mateo's premium for him as an additional perk. Continuing this narrative through the lens of Mateo's employer, let's just say that all 8 employees at this small business earn around the same amount of wages. If there are 6 biweekly pay periods in the quarter, Mateo's employer would deduct and remit a total premium of $32.40 for each employee, for a total quarterly remittance to CDLE of $259.20.
Now let's consider an example of a different employee. We'll call her Elise, who works for a company with 10 or more employees. Each bi-weekly pay period, Elise earns wages totaling $1,600. Beginning on January 1st, 2023, Elise's employer will deduct 0.45% of her wages from her paycheck for FAMLI premiums, or $7.20. Because Elise's employer has 10 or more employees, her employer will also contribute an equal employer premium of $7.20 for a total premium of $14.40 per Elise's paycheck. The employer would also be contributing a 0.45% share of wages for every other employee in addition to Elise. Again, Elise's employer can also choose to pay some or all of Elise's premium share as an added benefit for its employees.
So as we're continuing to work to build this FAMLI program, we want it to be fair, we want it to meet its needs.
Tracy, we're having some audio issues, so I'm gonna let Evan take the slides from here. If you want to try switching your speakers. Sorry, Tracy.
And no problem here. So as Tracy was saying, we're working to build a FAMLI program that's fair and that meets the needs of both employers and workers. We need your help to do that. And you can help us by participating in our webinar series, by sharing your ideas and concerns, by inviting us to speak to other business groups and organizations. And in addition to visiting our website, famli.colorado.gov for updates, you can contact us by email and follow us on social media at hashtag Colorado Family. I'm not sure how exactly we find that. In any event, Our next webinar is scheduled for this Friday, May 27th, and will focus on preparing small businesses for family. This will be a pre-recorded webinar and will cover much of the same material we have discussed today, but we certainly welcome you to watch. June's webinar will be a live broadcast, and we will talk about how family premiums will be calculated, as well as host another live Q&A open forum. We're growing out. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, continue.
Thanks. We're growing our family division with passionate, dedicated professionals to help us serve Colorado's employers and workers, and have a variety of positions open. So if you know someone who is interested in learning about opportunities with the family division, please visit careers.colorado.gov. And with that, thank you very much. And I believe we got some time for some questions and answers.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, I interrupted earlier. I was jumping the gun on the questions. We had several come in already, and some more are populating. So let's just start at the top of the list, and we'll get to as many as we can. As a reminder, everybody seems to be doing this already. Please don't take yourself off mute, but submit your questions through chat. The first one we have is, how will this affect small LLCs, such as a husband and wife who own a business? Will they be eligible? Will they need to pay it? And how does that work?
I'm not sure if Tracy's back with us, but it will, the rules regarding participation apply uniformly. So I know that with smaller LLCs, there can be some distinction between whether or not someone constitutes an employee. So that could be the deciding factor. The term employee is pretty consistent with what constitutes an employee across other Colorado employment law statutes. So if the husband and or the wife are constitute employees, then yes, they would have to remit premiums as an employee. Otherwise, they would have the option to elect coverage and participate as self-employed individuals.
Wonderful, thank you. And along those lines, I think you pretty much answered this, but an owner, if they are on payroll, are they considered an employee for this? And if they're not on payroll, then they wouldn't?
I hesitate to give a clear, bright line, and again, we'll lean on the definition of employee. I can say anecdotally that oftentimes employers are not considered employees because they're primarily free from control and they are operating an independent business related to their trade, i.e. the business that they own. So good chance that they're not, but I wouldn't say with certainty across the board in all situations.
And one more short question before I jump into a longer one. Will this be in addition to the Colorado mandated sick, the HFWA?
Yes, this is a separate law and a separate benefit. I think one of the things that's important to distinguish between the two is that HFWA covers sick leave that pays 100% wages and is paid by the employer, whereas the family benefit pays a sort of a sliding scale portion of the wages and is entirely paid by the state and is funded by those premiums.
Thank you. All right, this is a longer question. As a small employer, there are many tasks performed by a single staff person. Additionally, as we operate in a highly regulated human resource and staffing industry, our training and learning curve is approximately 3 to 6 months. I'm very concerned about the covering of this business tasks for 12 weeks to only have the staff person resign at the end of the 12 weeks, as this would be an undue hardship on our business. Are there any protections for small businesses from the hardships?
Tracy, I see you're back. Do you want to take that, or would you like me to?
She may have just called in. I just admitted another. I'm not sure if she heard the question.
Take it, Evan, if you can.
All right, sure. No. In short, there is no sort of additional funding mechanism for employers. What does happen is that because family is paid by the state and not the employer, then when there is an absence, there is at least a labor cost savings with which they can replace that labor that's out.
Another longer question. We currently offer short and long-term disability for our staff in the event that they are unable to work due to their health. Our plan is very generous and would cover maternity leave or surgery, etc. Should I plan to cancel the very affordable and generous plan since it does not cover all that family covers?
Well, I can't advise one to cancel or otherwise their short and long-term disability insurance plans. But the family statute does provide that benefits paid under the family program can run concurrently with an employer's short and long-term disability insurance program. It would be also possible to perhaps through the carrier add on to those programs so that it builds it up and it can potentially be approved as an equivalent private plan.
Thank you. Exactly what will be required of the employee when a person applies with the state for this benefit?
I'm happy to take this one if you can hear me at this point.
Yes, we can.
Oh, thank goodness. I am so sorry, you guys. All right, so what will be required? They will need to be submitting an application to us over here at FAMLI. That's likely going to be done either through a electronic portal type environment or alternatively via phone. Once that is done, we will then notify employers that their individual has requested a leave. We're also going to be requiring an attestation from individuals to say that before contacting us, they did let their employer know that they were going to be requiring leave. We will be keeping you updated every step of the way, whether that's through a notification that comes into your email box, or it may be through a portal, depending on what preference is and exactly how the system looks once it's built out. And I would kind of preface that with saying that the system isn't built yet. Okay, so there's a lot of information and detail that we just don't know, but there will definitely be a pretty robust application process.
Thank you. I have kind of a follow-up on that. So you mentioned in Q3 of this year that the all employers will be registering with FAMLI. Is this similar to state unemployment insurance where there will be an application process, either paper or online, that all employers will be required to then go in and submit an application and be assigned a number, and will there then again be an additional quarterly report to file to keep track of all of this at the state level?
That is correct, but we are modeling the report that needs to be submitted on the reporting that's currently being used in unemployment insurance to make that as close as it can possibly be to reduce any lift that you may have.
So this is a question from Mary. Is this for all employers, all employees, even those that are very part-time?
So it covers all employees who earn greater than $2,500 in the prior 4 calendar quarters. So I would say a vast majority of your employees would likely be included.
And then, so a follow-up question on that. So if they had, say somebody worked 5-6 hours a week, and they were just above that $2,500 limit, would their benefits then be correlated to their earnings?
Yes, it would. Like, almost think of it like a sliding scale is the easiest way to think about that, right? Your lower wage earners would earn a higher percentage of the wage that they would typically receive when they miss work.
So this is this isn't one of the submitted questions. This is from me. So I know that during during COVID, unemployment benefits were so high that the employers couldn't get employees to come back to work. they were actually more than the wages that the employees were earning. So will these benefits be equivalent to earnings or less than earnings as opposed to greater than previous earnings? And that was the problem with the unemployment, is that people, like in hotels and restaurants, couldn't get people to come back to work.
Right, right. So the way that this is calculated, and it's being done the way it was set out in the statute and the way it was voted on by the public, is that we will use a calculation from an average of the previous 4 quarters, and we will use an average weekly wage.
Okay.
Thank you. So I have a good question here from Alicia. How is the employee count going to monitor? Is it once an employee or a company hits 10 employees and higher moving forward, then it's always a contribution from both the employer and employee? Does the employer need to be monitoring this per payroll to know if they're at 11 employees versus 9 employees and adjust it every payroll process? What is that going to look like?
That should be reflected on the wage reports that are submitted. So the system will be able to do a calculation for you to let you know what your premium payment due amount is, whether it's coming from the individual employees or from the employer itself.
So I have another question related to that. So currently with the Affordable Care Act, with ACA, we have measurements of FTEs that are different than what employers, we used to think of full-time as 40 hours or over 36 hours, but ACA defined full-time for the purposes of that act. An employee, an FTE was somebody who worked over 30 hours, or you had the variable hour calculation of dividing total variable hours by 120 to get an employee count. How are you counting? Like, if we talk to some, we have questions from people who have a lot of part-time. So if you have people who are working very part-time, if someone works 5 hours a week for you, is that an employee or is it a portion of an employee for the regulations purposes?
I'm going to see if I can kick that one over the fence to Evan. Let's see if he's got a solid answer for you.
Well, I was hurrying to see if that was represented in our family premium rules, which it may be, but that's an excellent question. I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head, and so I would request that be submitted to the email that's on our slides so that we can get a more clear answer to that for you.
Yeah, I'm going to say, as our company helps hundreds of companies manage their employees. And it was quite confusing when the new definitions for what and full-time, we have FTE and FTE, which are 2 different definitions in the ACA rules. But I think if you manage this and match the ACA rules, you have one less new learning curve for employers. And it would be more fair, because if you have somebody that has 12 or 15 very part-time people, they don't have an equivalent in the other definition of 9 or 10 FTEs.
We're getting
We
some
will
questions
definitely follow up and get an answer for that one.
Great. We're having some questions about HFWA and how it works with FAMLI. And I think it can be explained that HFWA is paid out by the employer, which you said earlier, and FAMLI is a state-run paid leave. But the questions are, do employees or employers get to pick which benefit the employees are using, either FAMLI or HFWA? And with FAMLI being in addition to HFWA, does an employee need to exhaust HIPAA before being able to draw on FAMLI?
I don't mind taking that one. There can be no requirement that an employee exhaust any particular leave before using the family benefit. Just like there cannot be any requirement that the employee top off their family benefit with another sort of paid leave. However, employers and employees can come to a mutual agreement whereby they agree that the employee will use the HIF will leave first, or maybe save the HIF will leave to top off.
Is this withheld from all wages for the year, or do we pay on a set amount of wages like with unemployment?
What do you mean all wages through the year or a set amount of wages? Can you
Like, is there a threshold or a cap, like it's only paid on the first so much in wages, or is it like paid on all wages throughout the year?
Yeah, and it matches the current Social Security guidelines for
Yep.
capping. That's what I heard you say earlier, is that correct?
That's correct.
That's correct.
Wonderful. And then this does begin with the employee's first pay, is that correct? It's up for all wages when they start.
Yes.
Wonderful. Sorting through here. So, yes, we will send out a copy of the slide deck. And, will H-2A employees be included in FAMLI? They're excluded from SUTA. Are they excluded from this?
They are not excluded from FAMLI under the statute. If they meet the definition of employee, they will be included.
Wonderful, thank you. I thought that was a good question. What happens if the employee leaves before the 180-day threshold?
From what perspective?
Yeah, Joni, can you expand on that, please?
So can you give us a little more details about what's required by the employer as far as reporting goes?
From a reporting perspective, it would be the wage report. There really won't be a great deal more than that at this point in time.
So will it be a similar filing to state unemployment then?
Correct.
Okay. Alma, I was trying to answer your question there. Alma, let us know if that answered your question.
Am I able to join? No.
We hear you, Alma. I don't know whether you're trying to ask a question, but we hear you.
Yes. Okay. Alma, if you want to try to resubmit, we'll try to circle back to that question. Any idea how the premiums will be reported on W-2s?
So we're working on that piece right now. It's likely that we'll be issuing a 1099. But more to come. That's something that we're certainly working hard on right now.
Can you give me a little more detail on that? Because we're talking about an employer's W-2, and you said it would be reported on as a 1099?
That's our current understanding, but again, that has not yet been finalized. We are looking at this being a miscellaneous income for people that receive the family benefit. And Evan, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong here, but that's my current understanding.
I think we might be talking about how benefits might be reported and how employer paid premiums would be reported. And I think we've talked about, the issue of the taxability of the benefits themselves is, I think, still sort of unanswered by the IRS. And that's another one of those areas where, as we learn more, we will certainly share that as broadly as we can. I also think we've talked about reporting premium payments in box 14 of the W-2, if that rings a bell to you, Tracy.
A small bell, I'll be honest.
So this is so one of our local CPA partners, Gina, she's got a question here, and I think it's a really good one. So the premium, so we have an employer, and Gina, pardon me, I'm paraphrasing here. So we have an employee that's received benefits, and they get those premiums paid to them via ACH or a check from the state fund. Is that correct?
Well, they get benefits
Right.
paid to them. The state receives premiums.
Yes, okay, yeah, that's correct. But, so now the employee has received benefits separate from the employer. Who's responsible for generating the 1099?
State.
Interesting, okay.
And just a quick follow-up on that. So when the benefit is paid out to employees, is it taxable when they use it?
We're
That's-
still having ongoing communications on that one. Sorry, I think there's a time delay with Evan and myself, so I apologize if we're speaking over one another here. But that's something
you're
that
fine.
we're still in conversation with the IRS on that one.
Thank you. And then we have one from Michelle here. Does the money follow an employee if they go from job to job? What happens to the money if the employee leaves the workforce?
So the money being the premium payments, because this is a social insurance fund, the premiums that have been paid would remain in the fund.
Thank you. And Joni resubmitted, and I'm going to try to read this here. If the employee has to work for the same employer for a period of 180 days to receive benefits, but they leave the employer before the 180-day period, does that carry over for them to the next employer, or do they start over and the benefits paid in are accumulated or lost?
So I want to clarify one piece on that. So they don't have to work for the same employer for 180 days to receive benefits. They're eligible for benefits from day one. The 180-day piece kicks in when you're looking at job protection. So there's no job protection before 180 days if they move employers, but they would still be eligible for pay replacement through the state program if, say, at the end of week 2, they had their appendix removed.
Okay, thank you. And then have you, I believe this came up when you presented at the WCHRA, but has anything more been decided on what the employer's responsibility is for documentation and tracking?
From the perspective of somebody opening a claim,
Yes.
request
yeah,
benefits?
Sure.
You know, I would
and-
say that's still in development, and it's certainly something that we would welcome feedback on or thoughts on. You're welcome to submit your thoughts about what you feel would be helpful or what would be a hindrance for you, and we'll take those into consideration as we build out that platform.
And I'm just thinking of state unemployment claims, and typically the employer receives a form by mail where they can give detail about the employee's wages and reasons for termination. Is there going to be a similar correspondence between the state and employers when an employee files a claim for FAMLI, or has that been decided yet?
It's not fully been decided yet. What I would say is that we're looking to be as technology heavy as we can be and still serve all of our employers and individuals around the state. It's unlikely that we'll be routinely sending out paper copies of things. We'll be doing a lot more using current technology as much as possible. It's quite likely that you'd receive either an email linking you to a portal, or you will have access to a portal of some sort from your system. And you would be able to go in there and say, you know what, this person has applied for leave with you and I'm disputing it because they haven't worked for me for the last 2 months. All right, there will be that line of communication that we will open for you, but exactly what that looks like, we don't yet know.
Thank you. And so we have a question in how many days is an employee's job protected? And I kind of want to carry on that and say, you know, with COVID-related leave, it was counted by the hour rather than by the days or the weeks. Is family going to be by the day or by the hour? So if that question makes sense. So is it 12 weeks? That's the smallest number is by week that an employee can leave, or is it going to be drilled down into 12 weeks times 40 hours per week, and an employee can take that much time off? So if it's a part-time person, they're actually getting more than 12 weeks. Do you understand what I'm trying to ask? Okay. Is it somebody can request off by the week, by the day, by the hour?
I see Evan nodding. Do you want to take that one, or do you want me to?
I'm fine with taking it. It will be, family does allow leave to be taken in increments of an hour, or even less if the employer also allows its paid leave to be taken in lower increments. Practically, the sort of small increment leaves are going to be part of an intermittent leave. And it's unlikely that a continuous leave will be less than, a day. But it could be the case that some continuous leaves are less than a week. And so to that end, and related to the job protection will mirror the benefit that the individual has remaining. They may have used up some before in the year, maybe with a previous employer or something, but we will necessarily, because the leave can be used in increments in less than 1 week, have to define that in future rulemaking, and that will be coming up soon, I would say, in our forthcoming benefits.
So, Evan, I've got a question. I don't know if this is to you or not, but during COVID, unemployment claim, there were many fraudulent unemployment claims. I know for myself, somebody fraudulently put an unemployment claim in for me. I got the notice. They obviously weren't me, but they'd already received $1,200 in benefits. They had already gotten the benefits from the state of Colorado. I called to say, hey, I'm absolutely employed. This is fraudulent. I never got a call back. I went to the website, submitted it. I called in. Nobody picked up the phone. It was incredibly frustrating, and it was our money that was being fraudulently taken as employers and citizens of the state. I've got to hope that you're going to have a better customer service portal than that, because during the unemployment piece there was abysmal. And if you talk to all these employers, there's 130 participants here, they would tell you that they had multiple fraudulent unemployment claims, that they would call in and get zero response from the state, nothing. So what are you going to do to help us not to have that fiasco?
So I would say,
Absolutely.
in addition to committing to, as solid a customer service as we can, I think structurally in the law, there are things that are built in to help avoid this. One of those things is the obligation on the family division to notify an employer within 5 days of a claim being filed. And within 5 days of a claim being filed will be somewhat of a term of art likely, and a claim won't be considered sufficiently filed until we get all the documentation that we need to actually process the claim. And so that will build in some time. And then we have a deadline of 2 weeks to issue payment upon approval of a claim. And And so because of that 5-day reporting deadline and the gap of time between that reporting requirement and our obligation to actually pay out the benefits, an employer will have hopefully ample opportunity to say, I don't know what you're talking about. This person isn't here. This person isn't taking off leave, something like that. And we will certainly encourage that participation. Employers are going to be pretty crucial in identifying fraud and abuse in this system. And the statute builds in timelines to make that, I believe, certainly possible.
Yeah, I mean, our frustration was when I got the letter, I was informed that I already received $1,200 in benefits as the employer, because I'm the employer and an employee in an S corp. So the money had already been paid out. So I hope that you can accomplish that because it was pretty horrible. And there's never been any closure of the loop communication from the state to any of the employers that I know on the fraudulent claims that were fraudulent people already received the money. And as far as we know, there was never any criminal action taken against the people who were stealing the people's money.
So I'd like to respond to that, if I may. So I do know that our unemployment insurance department is working very, very hard to continue to work through those fraudulent claims. It was certainly something that impacted not just Colorado, but every state across the country. I do know that there have been multiple legal actions taken. They're continuing to file those. They're continuing to work very, very closely with the Attorney General's office and with other resources available to the state to prosecute as soon as there is appropriate evidence available. From a family perspective, I think we're very lucky launching our program when we are. We definitely have learned a lot internally from what happened during COVID. We know that these unprecedented events can happen, and we need to be proactively prepared for those. We have the benefit of going into this with brand new technology, not using legacy technology that we hadn't had the infrastructure to update previously. But now we have that line of sight to be able to develop the technology to help us ahead of time. We're also working with the other states that have already implemented a FAMLI program to make sure that we're being as current as we can be with all of our fraud prevention measures. So we definitely have the advantage of learning from difficulties that we've all run into previously.
Thank you, Tracy. I appreciate you going on a little bit of a worm trail of questions with us, but I know that is important for employers to be able to understand the security around what's happening. So thank you for explaining that a little bit further. We are almost out of time, so I just have a few questions I think we can address quickly before I wrap up. The first is, what happens to premiums paid in each year if the benefits aren't used? Do they roll over to the next year, or are they paid back to the employer and employee?
So it's a social insurance fund, so there's no individual account, so to speak. It's not based on the money you pay in as the money you receive out, like something like an HSA would be. This money goes into a social insurance pool, so funds are not reimbursed if not used.
Thank you for providing that clarity. One final question. So potentially a full-time employee could go part-time and then receive benefits. Is that true? And then regardless of what the needs are for that position. So really, is it if an employee goes from full-time to part-time, can they put in a claim?
So an employee can put in a claim for a intermittent leave, but obviously that would have to be supported by documentation, right? This would have to be something that's necessary and meets the requirements of our plan.
Okay. Thank you so much for taking all of our questions. I know it was kind of fast fire there, but I really do appreciate the state providing this open communication and just the ability to learn and understand this new tax, this new insurance that's going to be coming our way starting next year. So again, thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you to our presenters, Tracy and Evan and Jessica, for working with me and coordinating all of this from the state. And this recording will be on the Auto Paychecks blog as well as the presentation. The slides will also be there and sent out in an email as well. And we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. And the last thing I will say is that our next webinar is on June 16th. So if you are interested in learning more about HR and compliance and payroll changes, please log into our next webinar as well. And anything to wrap up on your end, Tracy or Evan?
Just to say thank you so much for your time, and we hear your concerns. We want to address them. We want to be super proactive on this, and if you would like us to come and speak with any other groups, organizations, or come back and see you again in a few months when we've got more development on this, we would be happy to do so.
Thank you for that. Again, really appreciate all of the openness that the state has provided and managing this change that affects every single employer here in Colorado. So I know it's a lot of people are really paying attention to what's going on and have a lot of questions. So thank you, and I enjoyed being on with everyone today. Thank you so much for your time, and we will talk to you later. And again, if you have questions, you can submit those directly to the FAMLI portal, and Auto Paychecks can help provide continued guidance as more is released from the state to help all of our clients. If you're not one of our clients and you have questions, please feel free to give us a call and talk about how we can help you as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.